All right. Welcome to Clozer Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Alma Merrill. And today, we got Mr. Franco Preston.
Howdy.
Franco and I, we met at an event last summer, the end of last summer. It was probably fall, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was called the Evolution Project. And it was up in the mountains.
Yep. Up in Oakley.
Okay, Oakley, Utah. Yeah. And it was freaking sweet.
It was.
And it was like a men's retreat. And it's where you go up and you just deal with all your bullshit, right?
Yeah. You just throw it all out there and kind of deal with it and have the help of other men to help you deal with it and guide you kind of through it and get you to a hopefully better place when you leave.
Now, and let me ask you this, because you've done a bunch of these, right?
Yep.
And because you were on the staff or on the leadership at the event.
Yeah.
And I was really blown away by, because I saw a bunch of these men's circles and stuff popping up, right? Where, men are trying to reclaim masculinity because society's trying to pull masculinity away from the man. And if you read the book Wild of Heart, it's a perfect definition of what's actually happening to masculinity. And that's a Christian book. The guy who writes it is Christian, so it's Christian based. But man, he freaking nails it, dude. He nails it hard on how they're pulling masculinity out of society and how they're like diminishing what a man is.
Yeah.
And I think what is so empowering, impactful with these men's circles is it enables guys to really see themselves for who they are and really not be apologetic for for who they are, right?
Yeah, well, and the thing that kind of sets, I kind of think why the Evolution Project's a little bit different is, there's a lot of these men's groups that are like the warrior concept, that you're going into battle or you're big and tough or you're getting back to the wild side of humanity of what it means to be a man.
Right.
And this really, it's not what we focus on. We focus on getting back to, your true self, that undivided life. Are you the same person at home that you are at work, that you are, with your friends, it takes a lot of the pressure off your shoulders of, needing to be this person in this situation.
Who you are when nobody else is around. Right?
Exactly.
Like authenticity at its finest. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did you get involved with it?
So it was kind of started by a guy named Brian Hurd. I was good friends with him in high school.
Be Heard, baby. He was on the podcast before.
He's been on it. But good friends with him in high school. And anyways, he's always been someone I kind of looked up to and admired. And he started the Evolution Project, invited me, even before he started it. And it just I wasn't vibing. I wasn't at a place mentally where I thought I was in a good place where I could be part of it. And then finally, man, I hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And he asked me to come do it, and I was like, "Dude, I can't. I'm in a place in life where it's not good. I'm debating. Do I
continue?
Do I continue life? Do I continue my family right now? I'm just not in a good headspace." And he kind of encouraged me to go, and I went into it that weekend, totally like, "Hey, I'm gonna give it 100%. I'm gonna go all in," and it was a game changer for me. It really was. As I learned about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and where I am on that journey, and that, my whole purpose here wasn't to be this awesome. I'm an assistant principal at an elementary school. It wasn't to be this like superhero at work and then come home and just be a dad.
Right.
That there was a lot of pressure taken off, that I could just be me.
Right.
And for the first time ever, at 38, I realized that, because I'm an entertainer. Whenever I'm in front of people, I'm the center of attention. I'm the funny guy. But when I was by myself, I wasn't. And when I was by myself, I wasn't happy, and I needed people to let me know that I was important.
Now, what kind of personality would you say you are? I mean, like yellow personality in front of people, and then
exactly. So yellow in front of people, and then when I'm by myself, I'm quiet. I absolutely love like my favorite sports, fishing, golf. I love being by myself. I like photography, something where I can just be totally by myself. When I go lift weights, I don't like having partners. I like just going and doing my own thing. And which was very hard for me because I'd be this person at work, really like a superhero. I love being an assistant principal. I love the kids. And I'd start feeling nervous as I got into my car to come home. Mm-hmm. And I'd get more and more and more anxious the closer I got to home. And my wife's great. My kids are great.
Dude, I feel that too sometimes, you know? And I think all of us do, right? Because we have to perform in our job or in our whatever fact for you, it's your faculty, right? In your job. And then we go home and it's like, oh, okay, now I got to perform at home on some level too, right?
Well, and I get home and I'm just a dad who's messing up. I'm just a husband who isn't showing enough affection. I'm just, all these things all day long at work. I have people telling me how amazing I am, how good I'm doing, that, I'm exceeding everyone's expectations, and how on the ride home as I'm stuck in traffic, I'm feeling more and more like I'm going into a trap. And it was a horrible feeling, and I felt guilty for feeling that way about my family.
Right.
And
it's not that you don't love them.
No. It's that I didn't feel like I was enough. I felt like I was enough at work, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And that when I got home, I was just a normal person, and it was hard. Yeah. It was really hard to deal with.
So you were in kind of that spot or in that headspace, and then Brian hit you up, and then.
Yeah, well, I was in the headspace that I'm seeking gratification from other people. Mm-hmm. I'm having all these people on the outside tell me how amazing I am. And at home, I'm not getting that.
Right.
So I was in that headspace, spent that weekend with the Evolution Project, and kind of got to a place where I realized that, hey, it's okay that I don't have anything figured out. It's okay that the weight of the world's on my shoulders. It's okay that I'm struggling because there's other people who are struggling as well.
Right.
That these people who look like they got their life figured out, when you really get to meet them, you realize that, hey, the same struggles you have are the same struggles they have.
So did you find that when you left the school, your state changed immediately? You went into a different state of mind?
Oh, absolutely. It really was when I get into my car to go to work in the morning, I'm like excited.
Because you're kind of like a celebrity over there, right?
Yeah, it really is. Like I go there and the kids love me. I have a great relationship with them, their parents. I really do feel like a rock star at work. And the second I get into my car, I'm in that mode. I'm Mr. Preston, and,
right.
And that is an actor I was playing for 9 hours a day.
Right.
And it was hard because, I have my alone time in my garage in the gym in the morning before I get ready. And, I'm quiet. I'm usually listening to a book. Listen to music, whatever. And right when I get into my car, I turn into a different person. And then right when I got back into my car, I turned back into someone I didn't love being. And the hard thing was when I was that person and I was alone, I wasn't happy.
So your car was your emotional dressing room.
Yeah. That's a perfect way to put it. And it really has been, I've only lived two years of my life so far of being able to be completely happy with who I am when I'm alone. And it's something that I've totally changed my entire outlook on life in these last 2 years, to the point where I'm changing careers so that I can do Evolution Project full time almost, where this is my last year in education. It's something I love, but it's not, if I continue on my path, I won't have the time I need in order to really help others.
You decided to get into real estate, right?
So I got my real estate license. I'll be joining Be Heard. I'll be on his team.
Yeah.
And no, I'm excited to have my hard work pay off for me.
Yeah.
But I'm also excited to go through my life undividedly.
Right.
That I can get up in the morning and be myself, that I can care about others how I have, and really do what's best. And in this circumstance, I'm going to try to get them into the home or the property that would be the best fit for them.
Right.
But also along the way, be doing things where I'm being true to myself and those around me. And I thought that was really hard to do if I'm saying, hey, you need to be your true self. And it's not something I was living on my, in my life. My wife's terrified. She's like, you make enough money, you have benefits, you have retirement, we have everything we need.
Security,
we
right?
have security.
But do you have joy? for you.
Well, and that's the thing I've learned is my joy comes from growth. And I am wanting to grow in areas of men's work more than any other aspect of my life. I want to grow in a way that my wife she's not second guessing what's making me happy or not, whether it's coming from her or another girl or another situation outside of who I am.
Right.
So I feel like I'm getting to the point where, each morning I know kind of what I need to do that morning to get me in the right headspace for that day, to be really just looking for the opportunity to open my mouth at the right time, open the door for the right person, and just really living my life off of feelings more than just like, oh, these are the things I have to get done today.
Right. And I mean, and you mentioned that you feel better when you're growing, right? Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that at some point? You just hit this plateau and you weren't growing?
Well, I was a goal setter. And I was the first in my family to ever go to college, first in my family to get a master's degree. And I always set a goal, and then I achieved that goal. And I remember the first goal I ever set, like lifting weights. I was like, I want to bench press 250 pounds. I was a small guy in high school. And I was like, I'm going to bench 250. And the second I got it up, I was disappointed. It wasn't like, yeah, I got it.
Why?
It was like, okay, I should have set it higher.
Interesting.
So, and even in a correct mindset, I feel like I'm good now. Gosh, maybe 2 months ago, I had 335. I was like, I can get 335. I did it. And it wasn't even a second of, yes, I got this. It was more of, oh, I bet I could have done another 2-3 pounds.
Wow. Dude,
so
yeah.
it's been a
and
really,
I think a lot of men go through kind of those mindsets, right?
Yeah.
Because we have expectations for ourselves, but we also have expectations for our growth and for our family and, what they think of us, what others think of us,
Well, and for me at least, when I was so focused on a goal, when I achieved that goal, I felt like there was nothing else. Where now I try as hard as I can to have a lifestyle, to have a routine where what I'm measuring is not how far I've done something, but am I being consistent with doing that every day?
Right.
And in doing so, it's been nice because I can really check myself as, hey, have I done that? For me, meditation is huge every day, journal writing and reading a book that makes me smarter.
Right.
And I can tell when I haven't done even one of those 3 things in the day. And it's not about, doing it perfectly. It's about just being consistent and meeting yourself there.
So let's talk a little bit more about these men's circle things that are popping out. Let's talk about a little bit more about the Evolution Project. And it's coming back up, right? There's another one coming up in
April. We got one in May. We got one in September and October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely coming to one of those.
Perfect.
I'm going to put it in my schedule somehow between the vacations and the, spring breaks and stuff like that and traveling. But I'll tell you what, you were one of the defining parts of that experience for me.
Okay, why is that?
Do you remember the ice bath?
I do.
Okay. The ice bath was it's one of those defining moments in my life that I had.
Okay, why is that?
So because I had so much shit in my mind and so much guilt over past things that I had never released, that I was just dragging along with me as my baggage, And when I went into the ice bath, it was critical for you to be there because you guided me through the process. When you started guiding me, I'm like, holy shit, he's been through some stuff because you understood it and you pushed me through. And that was one of the more, it was almost like a rebirth of my soul in that ice bath.
That's awesome.
It was wild, dude.
That's awesome.
There were so many things I hadn't forgiven myself for. There was shit that I blamed myself for that wasn't my fault. There were things that I just drug along with me religiously and otherwise that I wasn't being authentic with. I wasn't being true to myself. I was lying to myself for years over some of this stuff. And I processed all that stuff in that 4 minutes or whatever I was in the ice bath.
Well, one of the things I like about ice baths is they hurt bad every single time.
Right.
I mean, every single time they hurt just as bad as the first time you ever did it. And it's once you realize that, hey, I'm not going to die. I'm going to give up control and I'm just going to accept it. That has been something that's helped me so much. I loved my first ice bath. I couldn't do, it was at the evolution, my first evolution project.
Really?
I wanted to be the badass that got in and didn't even make a face.
Right.
I wanted to be like, dude, I'm macho. I got this. I was going to go first. I ended up going like sixth, and I couldn't last the whole time. And I got out and I just felt so defeated. Like I lasted maybe a minute and I got out, and everyone was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Exactly. And, I wasn't at a place in my mind where I was able to accept that there are certain things that are just okay to sit in my pain. And once I learned to sit in my pain and realize, hey, I don't have to fix everything. It's okay that it sucks. And sometimes things just suck, and that's just the way it is. It became this power that I had, whereas like if I can do an ice bath, what else can I do? And it's something simple. If you've ever gone to do an ice bath, I mean, it's painful and then it goes away and then you're fine. You go back to normal 10 minutes later.
And then you're like, you feel amazing when you get out.
You do.
It's just like, it's this revival and like a rebirth.
Yeah,
You know?
it really is. But it's that mentality of, I'm going to do something that is very, very difficult, that is very unnatural feeling, that my body's telling me is wrong, that I can't do. And I'm gonna give up and say, there's nothing I can do to fix this right now except sit. And I think once I had that conversion in my mind that there are certain things that come across in life that I don't need to fix. This was huge in my marriage where, my wife would be like, oh, all these things are stressing me out. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, well, I run an elementary school. Like, you're running a house.
Right.
Come on. But once I realized.
You're comparing.
I was comparing. And that we all have completely different things that we're sitting in, we're struggling with. And I think a huge part of what gave me the gratification of sitting in my pain is that it gave me permission to be uncomfortable. It gave me permission to forgive myself for a lot of things that I held deep inside. And it just gave me clarity in a lot of ways that how I want to live my life.
Why is the ice bath in particular so good with that type of cleansing?
I think it's because it's extreme pain for a second, and it's something so
all
simple.
Of your body's senses are like, F this, I got to get out of here, right?
They are. And something I like to do with the ice bath, I think it's so symbolic. Like a lot of people just jump in, you see the guys in the polar plunge stand on the edge and they just fully submerge right away. I like the symbolism behind it. I really like going and feeling the water. And as I'm with someone explaining how if it's their
you
first
guided
ice
me
bath,
to do that. Yeah.
I said, I want you to feel the water. I want you to put it on your face. And when you feel it with your hands, it sucks. That's freezing.
That's cold. Yeah.
Yeah. And then something I like doing is I like, taking more ice. It's not going to make it any more cold. I mean, it's as cold as it can get. Taking more ice and having that ice signify, hey, what does this mean to me? What's something that I need to leave in this ice bath? And I'm going to add to the pain. I'm purposely going to add to the pain. So you put the ice in, and the second you get in, you have that rush of adrenaline, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then you realize, okay, wow, this actually really hurts. This is painful. And it only stops being painful once you decide, hey, I'm only in here for 3-4 minutes. What's my purpose of being in here? I remembered what was symbolic. That's more important than my pain. And I'm just going to sit in it. And so it's okay. I'm not going to come up with any answers. I'm not going to solve life's mysteries here. I'm just going to sit down and accept this pain. And once you do, you realize, hey, this is just pain.
Right.
And pain's not bad.
It's part of learning, right?
It's part of learning. And there's something beautiful about, trying to do something that you think, oh, it's so easy. You've heard, everyone has done ice baths, right?
Right.
And once you do it yourself, you're like, oh shit, this is painful. Like maybe my body's more sensitive to cold than everyone else. Yes.
How could it possibly affect anyone like it affects me? Yeah.
Yes. And once you kind of fully give up and give in, it helps out.
My wife was like, when I got back and I doing the ice bath, everything cold I wanted.
Okay.
Like this last winter was like so unaffected me. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why, but it was like, I just craved the cold air and the cold snow and the cold nights. And she's like, you're weird. Like something happened to you, but I think what it was is that I felt so much relief from that experience that I welcomed whatever part of that would come back to me.
Well,
you know?
because you realize it's temporary too.
Yeah.
You know, when I have, when it hits the fan, I realize, hey, this is just right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So tell me this, what's the difference? Because I know you did the St. George event as well, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference? And in this one you did a what do you call them?
We did a Native American sweat lodge.
The sweat lodge, yeah.
Yeah.
So which is on the totally opposite side of the spectrum. Tell me
So
that
far
experience,
on the
dude.
opposite. So we got introduced by a guy named Nick. He was on up in Canada. He was a tribal council member where he kind of set up a sweat lodge in his backyard. So we have no idea what to expect.
Okay.
He just says, yeah, come on over. I'll have it ready to go. I'll lead you through
And
the
he's
ceremony.
this is down in St. George,
and this is
right?
in St. George, yeah.
Okay.
He's like, we'll lead you through the ceremony. He came over the night before and kind of told us, hey, you need to drink a lot of water beforehand. It explained briefly what it is. We have no idea what to expect. So we show up to his house, and in the backyard, there's like those kids' play sets that you could climb on. They're shaped kind of like like a half circle.
Yeah, like one of those dome that you climb on.
Exactly one of those.
Okay.
With like 7 layers of blankets on it. And we're just like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now?
What kind of madness is this, dude?
Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, that can fit like 4 people. And we had 12 people. He's like, oh no, we can get everyone in. So yeah. Yeah. So he's explaining it to us, kind of, the purpose, the symbolism of the history behind the sweat lodge. And we just start. And there's 4 different rounds. First round is you're like, I'm going to get something wrong here, but along the lines of your gratitude towards the masculine. The next round was gratitude towards the feminine. The third round was, I can't remember 3 and 4 off the top of my head. But it was each round was symbolic of
different gratitudes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was you get in this tent. It's a pitch black. There's lava rocks in the center of a hole in the ground in the tent, and you talk, and then after you're done talking, you pour a little bit of water on the rocks, and it makes steam. So round 1, it's like, oh dude, we totally got this. We're all excited. Just like the sauna at Vasa, right? Where it's like not too bad. It's hot. You're feeling it. You're like, oh, this is awesome. Dude, round 2.
Really?
Oh my gosh. It was so hot. He's like, once you get hot, you're going to like try to get low to the ground because it's colder on the ground. And I remember thinking like, I'm going to pass out. Like, I'm not leaving this. And I'm okay just passing out next to my buddy.
So Louis was there with you.
Yeah.
Louis Hamner. And he was giving me the same description.
Okay.
He's like,
Okay.
"Dude, I thought I was going to pass out." Like, he's like, it was the hottest thing.
Yeah.
He goes, I was like planning which direction I was going to fall when I pass out,
Yeah. It was next level. It really was. But, I knew if I could do ice baths, I can do this.
Right.
And even then I was like, if I pass out, I'm just going to pass out. Like, I'll get revived or whatever, But
in such great gratitude at the moment that it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It was all good. But, I think putting yourself in extreme situations is great. Whether it's extreme cold, whether it's extreme heat, whether it's an extremely hard conversation you need to have with someone. I think if it's coming from the right place, it's always going to be powerful.
And I think it creates that polarity in our lives, right? Because we see the gratitude of having health, right? Comfort. You look at like if you have had a long stint in the hospital, what it feels like when you come back out, and you're like so thankful that you're not there anymore. You're so thankful for your health, you know? And I think for me, that's kind of what ice baths did. And Louis just bought a sweat lodge. You probably saw that.
Yeah, I was in it Saturday.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to obviously be experiencing that because I rub shoulders with him so much.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see kind of the difference between the sweat lodge versus the ice bath. And
well, the sweat lodge is more of like an hour-long process where you're methodical about what you are your intention is clear going into it, and you're speaking from the heart, and you're hearing other people speak from the heart. Ice bath is a solo journey,
Right. Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
it really
that makes
is.
sense.
Yeah, it is. You're only battling yourself, and you have no one to support you except just the pain, which is okay.
And I felt that way when I did the ice bath, and I can see why people are doing these extreme things right now is because people are trying to feel now more than ever because we're becoming so desensitized in society.
Well, and as men, we're taught not to feel. That no matter what hits you, you have a straight face and you're okay and you can do anything.
Right.
When in reality, the reality of the situation is, I have huge emotions. And the more I kind of bury those, the less myself I am. I'm doing it for appearance of how I'm supposed to look or how I'm told
Right.
to look. And, this is how I need to be stoic in all situations. I need to appear like a warrior, which there's a time and place for everything. But to be completely true to myself, I have to wear my emotions more on my sleeve. And I've seen in doing so and being more honest with myself and others that relationships are coming to my life that I've never had before.
So is vulnerability also authenticity?
I would absolutely. You have to kind of break those walls down, and once I do, at least I'm able to, not speak from a place of how are others going to perceive me, but really, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm feeling right now. And a lot of time, the hardest thing for me is letting someone else know or speaking of things that I think they might need to hear at that moment.
I was watching this really stupid game show last night, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was like taking place in Vegas, and a bunch of singles are trying to fall in love, and this stupid thing, right? And me and my wife will watch those things because we love the behaviors of people and the way that they try to trick themselves and others into liking them, and it's kind of a mental fuck, if you will.
Yeah.
And we're watching this, and this guy makes this really great point. He said, because they were having this conversation, some of the guys that were on the show were having this conversation about being vulnerable and being authentic. And he goes, there's not very many places where guys like us can act like this and we can be vulnerable and authentic and have an opportunity. And this one guy is kind of preaching this, right? And the other guys are like, oh shit, bro, you're right. Like you're right, man. You're right. That feels good when you say that because here they are. They're trying to be these beefy macho, I'm better than the next guy and I want to win the girl and all this stuff. And in reality, the way to win the girl is to be the most authentic version of yourself possible if you want something long-term and something valuable and beautiful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, that's the one thing we try to really foster with Evolution Project. And it's something we're really striving to work for and change is keeping that conversation going. Mm-hmm. These guys get away for this 2 to 3 day activity. It's great. But then, they go home and they want to change the world. And we tell them, hey, you're going to go home. You're going to want to tell your wife that you're a changed person. You're going to do all these things. We suggest you just live it.
Right.
And what we're really trying to do right now is come up with a way to keep that motivation, keep the closeness, but keep those relationships going.
Right.
To where we have that community and that the space for men to continue to feel comfortable.
Well, and to continue to grow, right? Because the process, you don't just change overnight, right?
No.
I mean, this is a process. The whole process of growth and masculinity is a process of adjustment especially if you're not used to it, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how you grew up, authenticity may be, you may have to scrape through it, you may have to peel some layers back. I remember I was doing this meditation one time at a Tony Robbins event. And we had just done the Dickens process. And it's this process where you go deep into your soul and you find all the shit that you've done and you dig it out and what your life would be like if you continued forward on your current path. And after this process was over, I had this like vision of myself. And I was a tree and I had just peeled back a layer of rough bark that the world had prescribed to me or that I had delved into in the world. And I had peeled back a layer and I could see myself a little bit better. And that's how I've envisioned my growth process is I'm this tree. I've had this bark. I've had all this shit happen to me. I've tried to protect myself and be this tough guy, or try to protect myself and not let people know who I am. And I've lied most of my life trying to protect these secrets of how I grew up and what my environment was and who I really am and what I don't actually know.
Yeah.
And as I peel these layers back, I've found that I actually have a soft core, and that I actually am capable of loving on a deeper level. And I'm capable of telling the truth instead of this fabricated, fucked up lie about myself. And I'm capable of saying, no, I actually believe that, not this. Not what somebody gave me or prescribed to me as an infant. I believe something different. And I'm okay stepping out and saying that.
Yeah.
And
when it's so empowering to do so. Once you I don't know, for me at least, I can't speak for you.
Yes, it is.
But I was able to, I live in a way that I thought was best. Not what I thought other people would think was best, but in a way that what's the most genuine version of myself possible.
Right.
And it takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, it really does. And, I believe that people are always, the natural man, right? The natural. I actually believe that people are inherently of good cloth. As long as they're emotionally or mentally sane,
Yeah.
they're usually, they usually intend well, but they react based on what they know.
Yeah.
And I think the Evolution Project and other men's circles similar to this enable men to go, okay, I can go through the taboo shit and I can identify what I need to fix. And I could do it in an environment that's safe and inviting. And I can actually find who I really am.
Yeah.
And if you can find who you really are through these processes, then you can actually fix it. You can fix the shit you don't want, right?
Yeah. Well, and I to an extent, I think.
Okay.
I think there are people who, have had severe traumas where it's over the heads of a lot of men's groups. Where there's some hardcore therapy. Whether myself, I had to go EMDR therapy, where there were some childhood traumas that I just did not know how to process with my mind.
Right. That makes sense.
That in side by side with Evolution Project helped me get through stuff. Evolution Project alone, it's a great thing. Our target audience is guys who are pretty successful, who seem like they have their life together, but they don't necessarily feel like that on the inside.
Right. And I think that that's more common than we realize.
It is. It's very common.
Like the guys that I met there at first of all, I didn't know what the freak to expect.
Yeah.
Right. My buddy Louis hits me up and he goes, "Hey, I think you need to go to this."
Yeah.
Louis.
Yeah.
I think you really need to go to that. And he sends me this like video message. Right?
Yeah.
And
probably from his sauna in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Or his ice bath or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think this is time. I think it's time for you to go to this. And I was like, all right, dude, I explicitly trust Louis. I completely trust Louis.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to go do it. Who cares? Right.
Yeah.
So I dropped the money, and it's not super cheap for a lot of people. Right.
No.
And I'm just like, I dropped the cash. I go, and I didn't really know what to expect. And I get there and I see all these like guys in all different stages of their life. Some are multimillionaires. Some are just getting started in life, just in their marriages. And what I found was all of that shit, all of that armor. And I didn't know any of this when I got there, obviously. And I've learned some of that later, right? But everybody came in the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all men. And we all had wounds and we all had shit we were dealing with. Stuff, divorces that were imminent, jobs we were losing, companies that were failing, whatever. And it enabled us to put us into a clear space of mind to where we could handle that shit on a higher level. And then when I came out of that, dude, it was sacred.
Yeah.
At the very end, when everybody kind of dispersed, right?
Yeah.
It was sacred. That was a special moment. I remember going and sitting by the fire ring and just chilling on the lawn and looking up at those mountains in Oakley and in that canyon. It's a special, serene place.
It is. Well, and what we're really trying to do for anyone who attends the Evolution Project is we don't care who you are. We don't care what company you run, whether you're at the top of the company or if you're at the bottom of the company.
Right.
What we care is that you're trying to come and heal your authentic self. Is that there's something inside you that you realize, hey, this just isn't working. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I don't feel like I'm enough.
Now, how do guys get to that point where they know I need to go do something like this? What is it? Because for me, it was like, how do I break this boundary? Like I had this like overwhelming depression, anxiety, overwhelming stress. And I was like, how do I get the freak out of this? How do I break the pattern? And that's when Louis hits me up, because I think Louis inspired, dude.
Absolutely.
He and I are always like just about to text each other at the same time. And he hits me up, and he's somewhat of a spiritual guide of mine. And I just, when he spoke, I knew that was the right thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm just going to go do it. It's the right thing. And it turned out to be just a beautiful experience for me.
It is. Well, we follow closely Joseph Campbell and his hero's journey. And, the first step of that journey is stepping across that threshold, or even accepting the call, that this is something that I know I should do, or it's something I want to do, but I'm not going to do it. I'm too busy. I don't want to take time away from my family. I don't want to take, this is bro time, that my wife's going to be like, what, this is how much money to do this?
You're going to go hang out in the woods with the boys around a campfire and do what?
Yeah. And it really is, that everyone has that voice inside them that says, hey, no matter how small it is, this is the right thing for you.
And it's only like what, 38 hours or something like that?
Yeah, we're together 36 to 38 hours. And what we're doing though is we're trying to.
It felt like 2 weeks.
It does.
Bro.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. But it's exhausting because you have the no distraction. Cell phones don't really work up there.
Right.
You have no distraction, and you're really just focused on yourself. Which, as a dad, I'm always focused on, what are these things I can be doing for my 4 kids? What are these things at work that I can be doing for everyone? And everyone can come to the answer. I have 100 questions a day. I know the answers to all of them. And if not, I can make you think I know the answer.
Right.
But it's when you sit alone by yourself and you really analyze, hey, what am I going through right now?
When no one else is around.
When no one else is around, what am I feeling right now? And really sitting with that. And then, part of the hero's journey is a mentor appears when you need them. You have Louis. We all have that mentor who's like, hey, you know what? You got this.
I had you at the ice bath. Dude.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, we all have these mentors that pop into our life when we don't expect it. But when that mentor shows up, we listen to them, we follow them. We're each going to enter to this cave that just scares the crap out of us. And, we're going to fight that dragon that's in the cave. And every time the dragon's yourself.
What does Joseph Campbell says? When the hero is ready, the mentor will appear.
Yep.
Right? Is that
Yep.
right?
Absolutely. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's finding how you're blocking yourself. What are you doing in your life that is making whatever you want not attainable? Because it's never an outside source. What's stopping you from achieving something is always yourself.
Now let's talk a little bit about what a mentor is.
Okay.
I changed my complete definition.
Where'd you start and where'd you end?
So I thought that a mentor was somebody who was way above me and knew more than I did, and who was smarter than me. And what I learned, where I ended was, a mentor is the one that leads you back to yourself.
Ooh, I like that. I've some of my biggest aha moments in the last 6 months. I feel like right now I'm at a place I've never been at in life where I'm happy. I'm the happiest person I know. I'm the happiest person I've ever met.
You looking sexy too, my friend.
Thank you. But I've always been the happy person, but now I'm the happy person I'm alone also. Some of the biggest insight I get is talking to my kids. Some of the biggest mentor moments are coming from an 8-year-old, where they are saying something in a way that my heart's open to them like it's open to no one else, but it's exactly the words that I need to hear.
Yeah.
And the courage that a mentor has is the mentor has the courage to put themselves out there and say something or do something that you need to open up a bigger part of yourself.
Let's talk for a second about the kids. Right?
Okay.
Let's talk about our kids, because I have 4 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, I viewed them differently than they viewed me. And I think overall, that's a general rule that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. But I thought we were closer than they thought we were.
Okay.
Meaning I thought we had this tight relationship, that they knew I loved them on this certain level and all this stuff. But what I was realizing was that I was missing so much time with them that they didn't see me the same way that I saw them.
Okay.
Their days were longer than mine were. And so their impression of how long I was out of the home was longer than my impression of how long I was out of the home.
Okay.
And so what I found was, and my wife kind of led me into this perspective, because she told me my daughter said that I didn't care for her as much as she wanted me to, or,
Oh, that hurts.
dude, it
That
hurt.
wrecks you.
And I was like, what? No, we're so close. We
Yeah.
cuddle, we do bedtime, we do all right.
Yeah.
And I realized, no, to her days are long.
Mhm.
And me being out of the house for 15 hours a day or 13 hours a day or whatever, and she doesn't see me till she lays her head on the pillow at night, there's no time to create the relationship.
Yeah.
And so I realized I was being a bad father to these girls, but I thought I was being a great father to these girls.
Yeah.
And when I realized that I needed to put more effort in and spend more time with them, that's when I kind of saw them as my mentor, of like, it came from them of what I needed to do to fix or better those relationships.
Well, and probably give you a whole different level of fulfillment as well.
Completely, dude.
Yeah.
Completely. Like now our relationships, I feel like have like tripled. Like they're so much better, because any chance I get, man, if I'm done with work, I don't stay and do more work. Like when I hit that, I'm out and I go see my girls and I spend time with them.
Well, and I think being fully present whenever you're there, is I try really, really hard to, rule in our house is if a kid tells you to get off your phone, you have to throw your phone. Like, hey, Dad, you're on your phone. I throw it. I want them to see, hey, this isn't important, whatever,
Wow. That's freaking dope.
And something I notice is, I would spend time with my kids. I have 4 kids. I have a namesake who's turned 10. Actually, today's his birthday. And,
Franco.
Yeah, little Franco. And then Asher turns 8 today as well. And
Asher.
But I noticed Franco gets a lot of attention. Asher's more of a quiet kid. Franco just wants to be my shadow. And Asher wanted to show me his Pokemon cards. I know nothing about them, but he wanted to explain where he got each Pokemon card from, like who gave it to him. And it was, in the past, I would have been like, okay, kind of pay attention. So he's like, oh, he feels like I'm paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just 5 minutes one day I spent really, maybe 10 minutes tops, but fully engaged. And I saw what that made him feel, and I felt what that made me feel. And it really was just, this was only maybe 2 weeks ago, a total aha moment where, it's not necessarily how much time you spend with someone. It's that you're spending the time how they want to spend it. And gosh, it made me feel horrible, coming away from that, being like, oh, all this opportunities that I missed because I'm so spent on spending even time with everyone. But that's not what they need. My 4-year-old needs something different than my almost 13-year-old daughter, you know, but it's meeting them on their terms and not on what I thought my terms were.
It's not how much time you spend with them. It's what quality of time you spend with them, right?
Yeah, and how I define quality time is completely different than how I do and how they do. And I've realized that how they view it is the correct way. Because the way I look at my childhood is I have all these memories of how I think things happened. I don't remember the memories of how my dad or mom interpreted these things.
Right.
It's all how I interpret it. So I've really tried to change my focus on, like this morning, my boys set their alarm for 6:30. They wanted to do a hot tub on their birthday. So, I was already in my gym, just finished a workout. They all run in there. Dad, you ready? We call it hot tub time machine. They run in there like, Dad, hot tub time machine? I'm like, absolutely. But it's really, as a dad, I had so many of those opportunities where it's like, I don't really feel like doing that right now. I don't, let's plan that for tomorrow. We'll do that from 4 to 6 because that's the open time in my schedule. Mm-hmm. Let's do that tomorrow. We'll do it great. I'll do the research as to where we should go, what the best food we could have, and make the whole day special. Where that's not what kids want. That's not what they remember.
It's the moments, right?
It's the moment. Yeah, we took our kids to Hawaii 3 years ago. Asher's highlight of Hawaii was the stuffed animal he got at Walgreens on the way to the airport.
Wow.
And it was just like, because we stopped everything and we're like, what do you want right now? And he wanted a $6 stuffed animal. And that was his highlight.
If you're in Hawaii, man, you're passing up every freaking souvenir on the planet.
Yeah.
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 So that last moment on the way back home
Yeah.
was like the most important probably for him.
Yep.
Wow, dude. So tell me this. And I've noticed that, and this is why I really wanted you on, because I've noticed you've gone on this journey after going with you through kind of the evolution project. I've known you've kind of gone through a journey of like healing and emotional adjustment and growth. And ultimately, what would you advise a man who's in a place where you've been, where I've been, where you're about to just stop living? You're about to just give up. What would you advise somebody in that scenario, in that moment? Because it is a moment, right?
Yeah.
Even though it feels like it's been lasting for a long time.
Yeah.
It is a moment where you go, all right, fuck this, I'm done.
That's a wonderful question. I would, for me at least, there's been twice in my life where had I lived another 2 seconds in a different direction, I wouldn't be around anymore. You know, once I was in 10th grade and I was going to kill myself, and I had noose around my neck in my closet, you know, it was a belt in my closet, and I was standing on a bucket, and I was like, oh, I'm going to give it one more day. And I told my mom the next morning, I was like, hey, I'm not doing well. I almost killed myself last night. And she's like, do you think you're important? Do you think you matter? Do you think people talk about you at dinner time?
Whoa.
You're not important. And it was just the shock that I needed.
Shit.
Yeah. So the opposite of what I thought I needed to hear. But what I realized in that moment was, man, I'm in my own head. That this version of myself that I'm seeing isn't the same version of myself that everyone else is seeing. And I found myself in the same predicament, 3 years ago, where I was like, hey, if it wasn't for my kids right now, I don't want to be alive. The only reason I'm not taking my life is because I don't want them to have to go through that. It would cause too much trauma on them. And
so they were the savior of that moment.
Yeah. And which I feel so guilty saying that, you know, knowing my wife loves me. I you know, we live in a nice house. We live in a nice neighborhood, got a good job, got my car that I want.
Right.
Things are going good. On paper, I should be happy. But the thing about it was I wasn't. And I didn't know I could be the life of the party. I could make anyone laugh. I could make anyone feel comfortable. I could make anyone feel loved like that. But I couldn't do that for myself. And it's kind of the thing that got me to realize that, hey, I am enough is, man, I'm trying to pinpoint it to a situation, but.
Because I've heard things like, don't make a temporary decision, or don't make a permanent decision on a temporary, you know, in a temporary moment, or, you know, things like that. But it goes deeper than that, I think.
It does. Well, and it goes, I think I finally found a place that I actually loved myself. And I had gone so much of my life trying to please other people. You know, I was a product of multiple divorces growing up, and I always was trying always to be a good kid, never getting in trouble because I didn't want to let my parents down.
Right.
They were already stressed out enough. I didn't want to add to the stress. You know, I get into married life, and being from Utah, there's a huge culture here. Everyone knows how you should be acting. They know the rules you should be abiding to. And on the surface, I would abide by them. But in myself, I'd be like, hey, I'm not being true to myself. And I had this huge, you know, realization that in order to be happy, I need to be true to myself. And however that aligns, that's okay. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. And I would say the thing that kept me going was, sorry, I'm going to try to give a good answer here. Man, I don't know. I do know that the purpose of life, what I really think the purpose of life is to help other people around you feel better. Every single day, I say a prayer before in my office. I have every day of my career as an administrator. I pray. I said, help me find the person that needs me today. And it felt good because I was always looking for someone to help, whether it was a teacher, one of my own kids, a kid at school. I was always looking for that someone. And I had never taken care of myself.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah. And
I think, because you're going out to love other people.
Yeah.
But you're not loving yourself.
And that was the huge mindset for me was, okay, I got it. I had the analogy. I don't remember where I learned it, but it was talking. You got to fill your own cup first.
Yes, right.
And as a dad, I felt like I was filling my cup, and then I'd pour it into these other buckets, and then I'd go back to fill it, and then I'd pour into these other buckets. But every time I poured it into another bucket, I'd empty it. I'd take my cup and empty it. I give it everything I had, and then there'd be nothing in my cup. It'd take me 2-3 days to fill it up again. But what I realized...
So basically nothing left over for you.
Nothing left over, yeah. Because I'm so concerned about filling everyone's needs.
Right.
But once I took that cup and I just left it like this, and once my cup began overflowing, it filled everything else. And I didn't need to dump my cup out anywhere, because if I kept my cup full, it would overflow and fill other people's buckets. And then all I need to do is move where my cup is. I don't ever need to tip it. And if I can keep my cup full and be living my life in a way that I'm proud of, in a way that I'd want my son to grow up and be like, in a way that I'd want my daughter to grow up and marry, if I can do those things, then other people's cups are going to get filled. And this is what leads me on this crazy journey of, leaving education, jumping into real estate, not really on a whim, but because I know that I need more hours in my day to be able to help more people.
Right.
I can only help to an extent as an elementary school, administrator. And it's great. I love it. But it's very, very on the surface.
I think you're going to find a lot of joy getting into that next level of growth, right? Because you're helping people through their younger years, and now you're going to help them through their older years.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really excited to move forward with, is being able to grow myself, and in doing so, hopefully help people along the way.
Dude, that's freaking dope. And so thank you for taking the time to share that, by the way, and not just having some blanket statement that you throw out there, to actually really think about it, because I can tell that was legitimately thought about and from the heart. In this next step going into real estate, because you're fresh, brand new, not a millionaire in real estate yet.
Nope.
What's it been like for you stepping into that and stepping out of the other job? Because there's a lot of people that I know that have never made the step and gone away from the comfort zone and said, I'm going to go build my own thing, be my own man, and have my own business.
So it's still at a scary spot. So I'm resigned. Come July 1st, I no longer have...
Right, because you officially put in your word and resigned, right?
Yeah. So come July 1st, I am not going to receive any more money from, my job, which is great. And
you're burning the boats.
It is what it is. But at the same time, I'm opening new opportunities to push myself, to do it in a way that's healthy, to do it in a way that makes me feel uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable for me to ask someone to give a huge amount of money for something.
Right, for a service, right?
For a service.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, well, if I want to grow, I need to have more time in my day. Right now, if I'm an educator, I am from 7 a.m. till 5:30 at night, every single day, Monday through Friday. That's taken up for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not able to live my life in a way that I can really do things on a whim and be able to live my life through my heart.
And through your freedom.
And through my freedom. So I do have a good group of friends that are heavily involved in real estate and developers.
Yeah, you do.
And I got a good group of guys who support me. So I have this coaching staff that most people don't have going into something. I'm not going in cold.
Right.
But dude, I'm just excited. I've learned to not try to control everything. Just go kind of with what I feel is the right thing to do. And I can't preach to guys, through the Evolution Project. Hey, you just need to follow your heart.
All of your dreams, all your freedom.
Yeah.
Is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
It's on the other side of pain. It's on the other side of discipline.
Yeah.
And people that realize that all of those things exist there, I think more people would step out and do what you're doing right now.
Yeah. And that's what I hope to show my kids, and hope to show people that love me and, that I love, is that even I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to be successful. It doesn't mean I'm going to be a millionaire.
Right.
But my goal is to continue the lifestyle I have, but open more opportunities for me to help.
Millionaire is money is just a catalyst to get you where you want. If you have more, you can serve more.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is true. Money makes the world happen. Money right along with love are very good partners in the process of changing lives.
I heard a quote this morning. Andrew Carnegie spent the first half of his life earning money and the second half giving it away.
Yeah. One of the greats. Dude, Franco Preston, everybody. Dude, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. My
Dude,
pleasure.
It's an honor to have you on. Honor to know you. Let me ask you, where can people find you online? You have Instagram or Facebook and any of that?
I do. We're just about to drop the Evolution Project websites coming out hopefully this week.
Nice.
We're close, so you get to see us there. Also, Evolution Project on Facebook. And
and Franco Preston on Facebook too, right?
Franco Preston on Facebook. Yeah, I got to start building that brand. I'm not a social media guy, but it's got to change.
Good way for people to talk to you.
Yeah,
guys, thanks for watching another episode of Clozer Cult Podcast. We'll see you next time.